Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-host,
Beth,
Brian,
and Kirsten.
So we've got a 2-part holiday special coming within the next couple-ish weeks. With the holiday coming out, we decided it would be fun to talk about some of the holiday traditions of the countries in World Showcase. Just kind of general overview of everything that they do and lots of stuff related to that. But first, as always, let's dive into our news topics for this week. First thing we have on here is kind of an update to a news article we talked about on the last episode. Disney World is no longer adding masks to guest ride photos. If you listen to us on our
Boo!
This was one of my favorite petty things that Disney has ever done, and I hate that they stopped.
Yeah. I guess they were tired of dealing with complaints, probably, but wear your freaking masks!
I know, just...
The worst part about this is it feels so kind of counterproductive to everything else that they've done. They're still giving guests photos. That's the thing. Now they're giving them just without them, which originally they were not giving guests the pictures at all. Then they were editing the masks on. Now it's okay, what's the point, you know?
No consequences.
I want them to...
Right, that's exactly it.
They need to edit the pictures to just make people look really, really bad, you know? Just so it's off enough that they don't ever want to post them. Give everybody bags under their eyes and stuff, you know? Just
make everybody look
something.
like zombies.
You need to be in charge of petty Disney retribution. Is there a department for that, do you think?
That is my dream job. If it doesn't exist, Disney, make it happen. I promise you I'm the best candidate for the job.
They can call it the PDR, Petty Disney Retribution Department.
Love it.
Next news article we have on here is that the walls are down at the Boardwalk's new pool slide. The clown is gone. I don't know if we've mentioned that on previous episodes.
Thank goodness.
And it's now...
Oh no, not the clown.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I kind of wish that I had been able to experience the clown in person before, but this is definitely a better and much less nightmare-inducing pick for this pool slide.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm indifferent because it feels kind of cheap, but I like it better than the last one, which isn't saying much because I didn't really like that one too much.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it fits in nicely overall with because the slide is red and they use the same red for the artwork, and it's a cute name, the Keister Coaster.
Yeah.
R.I.P. clown.
Better than that atrocious thing.
Yeah.
Anything is better than that mess. And then the last things that we have on here are Taste of Epcot festivals. We've got some scheduling here. Looks like the International Flower and Garden Festival is going to be coming up March 3rd, 2021. Kind of knew that they were going to be doing these taste of things because that's how they've been doing it. We previously kind of touched on that too. And then we also have the Taste of the International Festival of the Arts, which is going to be January 8th to February 22nd.
I'm glad to see that they're still doing the festivals in some capacity, but I don't like this trend of tastes where it's I mean, I guess they can't do everything they would normally do, and that's why it's a taste of, but here's hoping 2022 will be the full meal, not the taste.
But obviously, with the taste of stuff, we get the like little mini things. So we get the art stuff still. You have the paint by number walls returning. We have the festival merch, which I almost wish had the taste of on it, just to like, as much as I don't want to remember 2020, I kind of want to remember this because it feels funny that they're doing something like this.
Yeah.
I guess the merch was already probably pre-printed, so they
Yeah.
couldn't do that. But we get the kiosks and everything like they've been doing. I feel like for once, Festival of the Arts, is looking like it's actually a bigger festival than the other ones. Like, I guess because we know what's expected from Food and Wine and all of that, and Festival of the Arts, most of that is still here. This actually feels like a bigger festival this year.
Yeah.
Which we've been wanting, but not because of this.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
Because like the photo ops are still there. We have the entertainment stuff that they've been doing, so that's kind of the same. Paint by numbers, like I said, festival merch, and then the food kiosks are all here. So it's like everything you would want from Festival of the Art.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Anywho, that brings us around to our topic this week.
Wait, we have housekeeping.
Oh, yes, we
Yes. Housekeeping. Yes. Big thank you to our newest patron, Madeline. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. We appreciate you joining and hope that you're enjoying all the content that you now have access to. If you haven't already, make sure you join our Discord at bit.ly/S71chat because we have a really nice active community in there and a special patron exclusive channel that we can talk about all things Patreon and give us suggestions and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So that said, that brings us into our topic for this week, where we are going to talk about the holiday traditions of the countries around World Showcase. So I see that there is a thing in here to preface by saying that while we're all familiar with the U.S. traditions, we want to make sure that we address the other ones. So we're not going to be addressing the United States traditions. I also want to preface this by saying, while we did do research on this, if there's something we miss, let us know because I'm interested more so in that stuff too. And also because we don't celebrate these traditions, there may be stuff that we don't necessarily get 100% right, just to be mindful of that.
Yes, definitely.
That's a good note to put in there.
For sure. We want to hear what it's like from people who actually celebrate these traditions. So if you do have experience, which I know a couple of us have experience with certain things that we'll get to later, but if you have experience with certain traditions that we missed or didn't get quite right, let us know and we will definitely address that.
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of going in country
a weird order.
Yeah, we're doing like machete country order. We did also decide, I don't know if we've mentioned this on here yet, but we did decide to leave some traditions out of countries that are going to be more towards like New Year's, just so that we can kind of gear them towards the New Year episode. Especially with this coming out right before Christmas. We're going to be taking next week off. So yeah.
Figure it out along the way.
We're kind of winging it. So we want to start in Mexico. Where do we want to go?
I mean,
yeah, Brian,
that's the only real way to go.
Start us off with the Feliz Navidad.
That's probably so wrong.
I was wondering, honestly, I was like, okay, I should look up some of the music, and then it's like the stuff I come up with is that like, and I'm like, is that just the very Americanized stuff that we get or not? Good song though. So let's see. I guess the big overall thing that I found during my research was that the Mexican celebration of Christmas overall is called, and again, I'm just going to go ahead and apologize for anything that I pronounced during this episode because I don't speak Spanish or Italian, which are the two countries that I have. But it's Las Posadas is the Mexican celebration of Christmas, and it takes place over 9 days, and I think that's pretty cool. I always found it interesting, like different like country traditions that make it a multi-day thing, because I don't know, even outside of Christmas, I feel in the US we don't really have multi-day holidays. I kind of wish we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always love a good reason to celebrate.
But yeah, so they do a lot of different cool things. One that I think is one of the visually coolest is they make lanterns out of brown paper bags, which they call farolitos, and they cut designs out of them before they put the candles in it, and it makes these really, really cool, like almost like snowflake type designs, like you would do in elementary school, where you like cut out the snowflake, but it makes really cool designs in the paper where the light shines through. And in larger communities, families will line entire sidewalks with them, and I looked up some pictures, and it's really, really cool to see at night with all these lanterns.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So the whole reasoning behind the Las Posadas tradition and celebration being 9 days is that it's meant to represent the 9-day journey of the Holy Family to Bethlehem. Find a shelter or an inn, which is called a posada, which is why the celebration is called Las Posadas. And I thought that was pretty cool. So every night, what happens is the children in the community will generally form a candlelight procession, and they join together, and sometimes it's adults too, but they go around the neighborhood from house to house, and they stop at each one, and they sing songs once they get there. And then the tradition is that they ask for shelter, and it's planned out ahead where one house in the community will be the shelter for that night. And they invite them in, and they sit down, and they would usually have a meal for them. And it's cool because each night it rotates to a different house in the community. So it's kind of fun because you have to go and find out which house is going to actually be the one that lets you in. So I thought that was really cool.
That kind of reminds me of
Oh.
progressive dinners. Did y'all ever do that in like church, like youth group growing up? Progressive dinners.
Do what? Progressive dinners?
Yeah, it's like the youth groups, like all the parents, like one family would have all the youth group over for like an appetizer, and then everybody would go to a different house for dinner, and then all the kids would go to another house for dessert. And it was usually around Christmas. It was like, your Christmas party thing. And then either you'd stay at the dessert house or you'd go to another house and do like presents or like a white elephant or whatever. I don't know.
That's actually kind
Fun.
of, it sounds familiar. I mean, I didn't really do like a youth group thing, but it sounds like something that may have been familiar. I don't know.
I don't remember doing that, but that sounds cool. That's like a
Yeah.
nice thing.
And it seems like it kind of pulls some of the stress off of like one person hosting Christmas.
Yeah. And we also, I don't know, we're in a really small town, so that might have had something to do with it, because basically all the houses ended up being in the same neighborhood. Probably harder in a big city.
All right. Let's see. So once the group gets to the house that is actually going to be the guest house, or I should say the host house for that night, they have a feast, and then they will generally play different games. One that's very popular is to have a piñata there, and obviously I think we're all pretty familiar with piñatas, but it's usually a large clay or paper mache shape that they can do different objects or animals, and it's usually filled with either candy or small gifts, and you hit it with a stick. You know how piñatas work. I don't know why I'm kind of explaining this.
It's always fun
Um,
to hit stuff with a stick, though.
It always is. Now here's here's the thing that I want to know. In your pinata havings, in your pinata assaults growing up, did you was the pinata normally stationary, or did you move it up and down as you tried to hit it?
I feel like as a kid it was always stationary, but I've seen that like traditional pinatas, you're supposed to move them up and down, aren't you?
Correct. So that's what
Okay.
I was wondering, because when I was doing this research, they noted that the pinata is supposed to move up and down as as you take a swing at it. And I thought back to any of the times that I've hit a pinata or been at a party where it was going on, that pinata was still. So I like this. It adds a little extra element to it. Makes it a little more difficult.
Y'all didn't have pinatas that moved up and down?
No.
All the ours are just like hung from a tree, basically.
Well,
I feel
we
like
would
that
You
have
just
it
leave it there.
from a tree, but somebody it would just be like a rope over a tree. And then
Yeah.
like an adult would be holding the other end of the rope and like pulling it up.
No, they always just like kept the ones that I remember still for the most part. And I mean, also I was blindfolded, so maybe I didn't know they were moving it up and down. So
I was close enough
feel
to actual Mexico. That could be why growing
Probably.
up.
that's a good point.
I feel like that, and then the ones that you pull the streamers from are probably like very Americanized pinatas.
Let's see.
Anyway.
Oh, another thing that is very popular in Mexican Christmas celebrations is nativity scenes. And what separates their nativity scenes from most, let's say, American nativity scenes is that generally in Mexico, they're very, very large, and that all the figures are life size. So as I feel like most people have like small tabletop nativity scenes, in Mexico, they normally go all out and do very, very large ones.
Nice. Go big or go home, right?
Mm-hmm. Another thing that is very popular that I think has kind of moved into America a good bit too is that you put poinsettia flowers out, which are known as Noche Buenas, Christmas Eve flowers in Mexico. I am struggling with these pronunciations. I'm very sorry. But as the Los Posadas event moves towards closer to Christmas and Christmas Eve, you see that the celebration begins centering more upon family instead of the entire community. So generally, the night before Christmas on Christmas Eve, it's typical to celebrate with your family. And then on Christmas Day, you will normally go out in the morning and go to church services, and then spend the rest of the day with your family. You normally have a Christmas dinner that night, and some of the typical foods that you have are oxtail soup with beans, chilies, and then you'll typically have a roasted turkey too, and then just assortment of other vegetables, much like we would have in America. And then one of the other things that I thought was interesting is that it's actually apparently not typical to do gifts on Christmas. That the day that most children receive gifts is actually January 5th, or what would be the 12th night, as they call it. And this is when you normally do your typical gift giving celebration, and that continues into the next day, which you will generally have another supper, and so that's pretty much it. Let's see, some of the other things or other food types that are typical to do on the 12th night celebration would tamales, and then this sounds delicious. They have a traditional hot chocolate with vanilla and cinnamon flavored drink, which sounds fantastic to
Oh,
me.
that sounds so
Mm.
good.
Yeah, Mexican hot chocolate is like a big thing here. I personally don't like it, but if y'all have never had it, you probably would like it if you're not me.
And then also between that, on February 2nd, they have what is called, I'm sorry, Candelamas Day, which will generally have a tamale party, which sounds like an awesome party.
That does sound awesome.
Do y'all have tamales at Christmas? Is that like a common thing there? I've never really thought
No, but I
about
love
Nope.
tamales.
how much like Mexican culture we actually kind of see at Christmas here and just have never really thought about. But tamales, like also don't like tamales, but it's like a huge deal. And we have them at Thanksgiving too sometimes. But
It's like the standard, like you eat turkey and tamales.
no, like it's just like a thing that everybody will bring. And like, because everybody knows, like everybody has like a friend whose grandma is from Mexico who makes like 1,000 tamales at Christmas and like sells them. And so it's like, ooh, I'm going to bring like 24 tamales to Thanksgiving, and like not with the main meal, like usually on another day or just like as a snack, but it's incredibly common, to like have them at some point over the holidays.
Interesting.
I also thought it was funny. One of these websites that I was looking up, it says that they also have a eggnog like drink which is called rompompe. And it was just funny because they had like a note underneath it, and it said, "which often has rum added to it!" exclamation point. And I was like, "Isn't eggnog supposed to have rum added to
Yeah.
it?" Okay.
Well, there is definitely like non-alcoholic eggnog, but I feel like most eggnogs do have rum in them.
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, sorry. One more thing I forgot to mention too. Man, I'm telling you, like Mexico in late December and early January sounds like an awesome place to be because they have all kind of celebrations going on. They between that, December 28th is what they call Los Santos Innocent. Oh, geez. Okay. It translates to the Day of Innocent Saints. So, but it is actually they kind of treat it like April Fool's Day, and yeah. So, thought that was pretty. So you've got like all kinds of celebrations crammed into a very short period of time around the holidays in Mexico.
So they like play pranks on each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like give everybody gifts and then you play pranks afterwards.
And
I
you
like
have a
it.
ton
Sounds
of
like my
ton of
kind of
eating
holiday.
celebrations. It's just
Yeah. Nice.
So kind of related to that, I guess, I think I noticed this while I was looking through a lot of the stuff that I was looking at. It seems like it's very American to celebrate Christmas on one day, and a lot of other countries do kind of make it like not necessarily Christmas, but the holidays are more of a week-long or multi-day thing, like Brian was saying. It's my turn, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Like one of the things that I noticed on here is that in Norway, which is the country we're on, correct? I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Yes. So in Norway, the time between Christmas and New Year's is actually called Ronjulian, which all of the shops are closed and there's like limited hours that they'll have throughout that time period. And it's actually like a skiing holiday for Norwegians. They go up to the ski slopes and go skiing with their families, which I thought was super cool because like you get a whole week long period of holiday instead of like 1 or 2 days, I guess. Technically we get here. But outside of that, there's actually a lot of different little traditions that they have in Norway. Like there's advent candles that they light 4 Sundays before Christmas. They'll start lighting candles, and every Sunday up until Christmas is commemorated by lighting another 4 candelabra. On the first Sunday, the candles lit, and then on the second Sunday, 2 candles are lit, and so on. So nice little leading up to Christmas tradition. But my favorite thing that I found, because we all know that Americans love their Elf on the Shelf.
Oh Lord.
The
Do we have to though? No, I'm just
Okay,
kidding.
but here's the thing. I'm going to make you all grateful for Elf on the Shelf because the Norway tradition is actually kind of much more terrifying. So the Norwegian folk decorate with what's called a nissi. It's a creature from Scandinavian folklore that's kind of like a garden gnome or a goblin. According to the tradition, they're present in farmhouses, and they act as guardians, which are basically like the first people that lived in that house. However, they're good because they occasionally help out with house chores. Let me see if I can find you a picture of it because okay, this one article I have had a good picture of it. Because they are kind of interesting.
Oh, I not like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't like that at all.
All right, I do appreciate Elf on the Shelf a little bit more now.
So here's the funny thing. Apparently, their version of Santa is also it's a Julie Nessie, which is kind of sort of a similar thing. I don't know, like I couldn't find too much more else about that, but it's just that's a very bizarre tradition, and it feels like kind of the spawn of Elf on a Shelf.
It's like this is what Elf on the Shelf came from, I think.
Nope.
Okay, did we all watch
okay,
Once
let's
Upon a
see.
Time?
I watched most
little
of
bit.
it.
Does
Yeah, a
that
little bit.
picture that Beth just posted remind y'all of the episode where the people turn the parents, I think it's Jiminy Cricket's parents, into wooden dolls?
Ooh, vaguely.
I was
don't
rewatching
think I saw that
the
one.
first season not too long ago, which is what made me think of that. Anyway, moving on.
So another fun Norway tradition is that on December 23rd they celebrate Lily Jal. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. It's basically Little Christmas Eve. And it's the time where the family comes together to clean and decorate the house. So they don't actually decorate up until the 23rd. And the ornaments that they do are kind of similar. They're heart-shaped Christmas baskets filled with goodies, so kind of like our stockings. They do the paper chains, and then they do Norwegian flags. They also do gingerbread houses over there, and they're not allowed to eat them before the end of the Christmas season, which I feel like is kind of standard.
Yeah. Why would you eat it before the season's over?
Does anybody actually
don't know.
eat the gingerbread house at all? Like,
I was about to say, I never eat the gingerbread house.
but I mean, I
Just
get
let all
mine.
that gingerbread and candy go to waste.
It gets stale if it sits out.
Wait, are y'all making real gingerbread, or are y'all like going to Target and getting a kit? Because that's definitely me.
Yeah, me too.
I
I've
I've
do
done
like
both.
kits.
I wouldn't eat one of those kits if you paid me. Like, hard pass.
There were a couple like I feel like we have these traditions over here where it's like because it's this time of year I have to watch this movie. There are a couple things like that in Norwegian culture. There's this movie called Dinner for One, which I don't understand how this is like become a Christmas thing other than the fact that it aired on December 23rd every day or every year since 1990. But the plot of Dinner for One is it's a British sketch comedy where this 90-year-old woman hosts a dinner party for her friends, but because of her age, she's outlived all of them. So her butler has to impersonate all of the guests that would have been there.
Well, that sounds hilariously
It's
depressing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I found this. It's on YouTube. But it's not, there's no like translation, so I'm not going to be able to. Oh no. This one is actually in English. So if you want to go back and watch a little bit of depressing comedy, here you go. There's also another, one second, Christmas Eve tradition similar to Dinner for One that's kind of become like a holiday classic in Norway. It's called Three Gifts for Cinderella. So the movie depicts a different version of Cinderella where the prince, who's a skilled hunter, is actively pursuing her before she falls under his charm. It's kind of Cinderella from what I've gathered. And that's kind of a Christmas Eve tradition as well. Other than that, there's a lot of like different holiday food. Most of it's Scandinavian, and I can't pronounce any of it. So that's fun. One of them is like a Norwegian rice porridge, which doesn't usually sound too good to me. And this is served for lunch on Christmas Day. It's served with sugar and cinnamon with a dab of butter in the cream. So that definitely sounds a lot better than just rice porridge. The other fun part of this is that an almond is hidden in the large pot, and the person who finds it in their portion traditionally receives a marzipan as a gift, which is kind of a neat little thing. I feel like a lot
is that really a gift though? Marzipan is disgusting.
In this culture, I guess it is.
No, I'm just kidding. It's a big thing in Germany too, but yeah. I don't think marzipan is good.
I've never had it, so I honestly don't know. What is it?
It's not good.
Oh.
I am in agreement.
It's like a weird, like, I will say that marzipan sculptures are really cute and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it, but that's what it should remain as, is like a sculpture, I think.
It's like finding
it's like an almond paste.
Like, congratulations, you
what?
buy it next year. Like, yay, what a great prize. Thank you.
I feel like there's a lot of like overlap in some of these like holiday traditions. Like, find this thing in here and you get this thing that's not necessarily a gift, but it is a gift. Yeah, but I mean, other than that, there's just general different like Norwegian foods that they try. There's some that are like stick meats, which are like salted dried lamb ribs soaked in water, which that doesn't sound good. There's pork ribs. I'm not thrilled about those either because I don't really like pork, but lots of that stuff. There's this one that sounds very gross. So it's called lutefisk. It's dried cod, fish stock or clit fish that's been soaked in lye to rehydrate it before eating, and it gives it a gelatinous texture, which sounds awful.
I'm sorry, it's soaked
lye?
in lye?
Is
that edible?
I think this is like the Vegemite of Norway. I've heard of it before, and the consensus is like the only people who like it are like old, actual Norwegian people.
It's everything that I've seen says it's either loved or hated by Norwegian people. Yeah, no, it doesn't look good at all. I sent you guys a picture, and
It's fish jello.
Yeah.
Gross.
However, the general consensus is that once a year is enough for lutefisk. It's also traditionally served with fried bacon, mashed green peas, and boiled potatoes. So that's
how you
fun.
wash down the flavor.
Yeah.
With the other good stuff.
Another food that they have, which is kind of considered a delicacy, is rakfisk. It's one of the smallest or world's smelliest fishes. It's heavily salted.
Norwegians, what is you doing?
Just wait. I butchered that delivery because it's horrible, and I feel like I'm having flashbacks to when I read this the first time. So rakfisk is a smelly fish that is heavily salted trout fermented in water for up to a year.
Ew.
And then here's the part that ties it back to World Showcase. It's also eaten with a glass of the aquavit, whatever.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
Yes.
Okay, well, I know where I don't want to spend Christmas ever.
That's why Norwegians are so tough right there.
I mean, honestly, though, like, they literally drink fire water with their smelly, salty fish.
Yeah. it's I don't know. This did not turn me on to Norwegian Christmas. I'm sorry to all of our Norwegian listeners.
All two of them, maybe. If
Uh,
that.
I wonder what kind of traditions other people read about, like that Americans do, and they're like, "Y'all are disgusting." Like, I really want to know what things we do.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a ton of things that people are like, "Why would you eat that?" Probably like just McDonald's. But
Yeah, if anyone out there is international and listening and has a thing like that where you've heard of Americans eating or drinking something that you think is disgusting, please let us know. I'm curious as well.
Here's a fun statistic for you, Beth, because I guess and Kristen too, because you guys were so disgusted about the marzipan. Apparently, marzipan is like a huge thing over in Norway.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a huge thing in Germany too. That doesn't mean it's good.
Well, according to Nidar, who is one of the manufacturers of marzipan, Norway's 5 million people managed to eat more than 40 million marzipan figures during the Christmas season.
What?
Yep.
oh,
That's insane.
Yep.
So pardon me for being so uncultured, but what exactly is marzipan?
It's like an almond paste. It's like
I love almond flavored
well,
stuff.
no, I like almond flavor too, but this is like not sweet, really.
No.
It's like a very bland, weird textury almond
It's what they used
paste,
to
like
use to
dough
decorate.
made out of almonds.
It's like it predates fondant as like back in like Elizabethan times whenever they would make cakes for like these giant feasts and stuff that they would have. Like most of the decorations would be made out of marzipan.
Yeah. So just imagine eating fondant, but it not being super sweet.
Just like a big old chunk of fondant that doesn't have sugar in it.
So that's what I found on Moroccan Christmas, or not Moroccan Christmas, Norwegian Christmas. That said, I also have Morocco, which would be next in our list. And this one's going to be rather disappointing to all of you because there really isn't Christmas traditions over there. However, the interesting little bit of it is it's kind of a split holiday with most of the people that are in Morocco, because some will celebrate it but have kind of this like westernized view on it. Like they take a lot of the different Western cultures or other cultures from around the world and incorporate them in their Christmas celebration. But because Morocco is mostly a heavily Muslim culture, a lot of people over there that are very like heavy into the Muslim beliefs don't view it as a holiday they should celebrate. One, because they would be misjudged by the people that would celebrate it, but also it's kind of would this make me a bad Muslim for celebrating another culture's holiday? And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The fun thing about it is, though, because Christmas is kind of a like culture that's made its way around the world, it's not uncommon to see like Christmas trees and decorations in supermarkets and people also wishing others Merry Christmas just because of the season, which is kind of cool, but kind of interesting at the same time if you really think very deep in that.
Yeah. Maybe it's kind of like how we celebrate St. Patrick's Day over here, but does anybody really know like why or what it's about? I mean, I'm sure people do know, but like,
yeah, it's not a Western holiday, so it's not
right.
It's not ingrained in us as much as it could be.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I did note while I was looking into like Morocco and Christmas is that because they're not a huge country for Christmas, a lot of people will travel there if they don't want to spend the holiday season around the holidays, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like
So
a
like if you
little
wanna visit your
respite.
family,
Yeah.
go to Morocco.
Yeah, I mean you'll still get some of the decorations and stuff. And there was one thing that I was reading that says that Santa Claus is kind of pretty popular over there because it is like the westernized symbol of Christmas. So they'll bring him out as like here's a Christmas thing. which I feel like of all the Christmas stuff, that's a fair one to just like target as our symbol of Christmas.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's Morocco.
Cool. Well, I'm up next with the Germany, which my maternal grandmother was from Germany, so I'm actually lucky enough to have participated in many German holiday traditions through the years. But there's one specifically that I think a lot of people have participated in with maybe not even realizing that they were participating in a German tradition, which is Advent calendars.
Oh.
So Advent calendars date back to the mid-19th century when German Protestants would make chalk marks to count down the days leading up to Christmas, but the first printed Advent calendars weren't produced until the early 1900s after who's considered to be the inventor of Advent calendars, Gerhard Lang, was inspired by a gift that his mother had given him as a child, which was 24 cookies sewn into the lid of a box, and he was allowed to eat one of them each day throughout the Advent period. But the original printed Advent calendars that we know and love today didn't have the treats that we're used to, and they were just simply composed of two printed parts, which one was a base sheet of cardboard with a poem to read each day, and then there was a page of colorful illustrations which you would cut out and paste to each day as you went along.
Neat.
Yeah. But there are a couple of differences in how Germans celebrate the holiday itself. So weeks before Christmas, on the night of December 5th, children will shine their shoes and put them by the door in hopes that St. Nicholas will put small gifts and candy in them, which they'll look for the next morning on December 6th, which is known as St. Nicholas's Day. But only well-behaved children are the ones that are going to get presents, because bad children will receive nothing but a lump of coal, which is where this tradition began, where if you're a bad kid, you get a lump of coal for Christmas. But in the 16th century, the folklore was actually amended to include Krampus, who I know has gained a lot of popularity over the last several years. He's a horned beast wearing rags and chains, and he accompanies St. Nicholas to deliver the coal and scare children who have misbehaved throughout the year. So he kind of got added into that tradition after the fact. But the main gift-giving day in Germany is actually Christmas Eve. So on December 24th is when Santa Claus, or Father Christmas as some people call him, brings presents for children, and family members exchange their gifts with each other as well. Although in some parts of Germany, it's actually believed that the gift bringer is called as Christkind, which translates into Christ child, basically. And she's described as a young girl with Christ-like qualities. She has curly blonde hair and wears a long gold and white dress, a gold crown, and sometimes angel wings. So some people believe that Santa Claus brings the gifts, and some people believe that Christkind brings the gifts. But their Christmas Day, the typical German meal is actually relatively similar to ours here in the United States. They'll have some sort of cooked bird, which is usually a goose or a duck, and or pork roast or schnitzel. And they serve it with rice and potatoes, sometimes potato dumplings, some sort of potatoes, sometimes potato salad. But of course, I have to throw in one of my favorite German traditions, which everyone knows that every holiday needs a traditional drink. So the one that I've participated in that I love is called Glühwein, which is a warmed wine infused with spices, which is usually cinnamon sticks, cloves, orange, and vanilla. And it is extremely delicious. If you've never tried it, I would definitely recommend it.
Sounds interesting.
The other one that I found out about that I had never heard of before, I'm going to try really hard to get the pronunciation right. I should be better at this being of German blood, but Feuerzangenbowle translates into fire tongue punch. And it's a sugar loaf that they soak in a high percentage rum. Then they set it on fire over a glass, and it drips into mulled wine. So this sounds like a really funny, like, novelty thing to me, but apparently there was a movie that came out that really popularized it over there. And so it's a very common thing that people do now, supposedly. But like I said, this is not one that I've done before, but I fully intend on incorporating into future family Christmases.
It sounds like a shot you do at a sake bar.
Yeah, kind of like I said, it's like a novelty almost.
Or like a Dr. Pepper shot.
Like a what?
A Dr. Pepper shot.
I've never
What's
had
that?
that.
It tastes like Dr. Pepper, but they do something and they set it on fire and then it drops into another something and you drink it. I don't know. I just know that it involves fire and a drink dropping into another drink. And it tastes like
I
Dr.
have to
Pepper.
look that one up.
They're now illegal in Texas because I think that bars kept getting caught on fire.
I've seen too many videos of like flaming shots gone wrong that I don't think I would ever drink one of those.
Yeah.
I actually used to go to this place that's closed down in the last few years, which is very sad, but they were the only place I could find that would do these shots that we liked. And I can't remember the name of it. Sambuca. Yeah. They called it a Sambuca vaporizer. And they would basically pour a like lowball glass, I don't know, like a fourth or half full of Sambuca, which is like kind of like a licoricey tasting, but not in a bad way, because I actually don't really like licorice, but it's like a liqueur or alcohol that tastes kind of like licorice. And then they would set it on fire. They would pour it into another cup and then put the cup that they had before on top of it. And basically what you did was you grabbed the top cup and you inhaled and you would get all of the vapors from the alcohol. And then you would take the shot and it was like warm alcohol.
This sounds like, did you guys watch Parks and Recreation?
There's no wrong way to drink alcohol.
Okay, yeah, no, I was gonna say this sounds like that scene where they do the combined bachelor party and they go to that one bar, and Tom's like, "Oh, the vodka in a flash of light."
That one, yeah, the like mist one. That's I was thinking that too.
That's all I could think of.
But yeah, alcohol and fire. What could possibly go wrong?
A lot, apparently, if the shot's banned in Texas.
Yeah, I don't think it was actually the shots that we took. I don't think they were actually legal. It was a thing that you had to like expressly like request from a certain bartender kind of thing.
Shh. I'm sorry. Did y'all hear that? Of course you heard that. That was the Vuvuzela.
It's made a special appearance on the holiday episode.
It's back.
It's our Christmas present from Eli. A little concert. But yeah. So that's Germany.
Beth, I have to admit I'm a little bit disappointed.
Why?
Because you didn't mention Belschnickel at all.
Mention what?
Belschnickel.
Okay, I'm not
seen that
familiar
episode
with
of
this.
The Office?
I have literally never seen an
She's
entire
never seen
episode
it.
of The Office.
I thought you watched it. Oh.
No,
No.
remember you guys showed me that one scene of the fire drill.
That's right. Okay.
That's all I've ever seen of The Office, really.
Uh,
Well, why don't you inform us then?
Oh, I don't really know, but it's apparently like a kind of like Santa Claus, other type of, I don't know. It's like in that same realm, but it's like in the episode, Dwight dresses up as it, and apparently he carries around like a whipping stick, and like either it's instead of kids being like naughty or nice, they're admirable or impish, and if they are good, they get a small present, and if they're bad, they get like whipped with the stick.
Oh.
But I don't know how accurate the Office episode is as far as the actual German folklore. So,
I mean, it may be. I've never heard of it, but I'm not actually from Germany, so maybe that's why.
or it's just not accurate.
Or that's possible too.
I'm looking it up now, and I think that's a very rough overview of the actual traditions, but there's a lot more to but apparently it's only celebrated in a very like small area of Germany.
Gotcha. Yeah, I when I was doing my research, I was noticing that there were a lot of very regional types of traditions and customs, but I wanted to try and mostly include the overview of what most Germans celebrate. So there's definitely lots of regional stuff, and I'm sure that goes for every country that there's regional stuff.
So, as I said in Mexico, they very much like their nativity scenes, and they do large, lifelike nativity scenes. In Italy, and especially in Naples, nativity scenes are extremely popular too. However, they do the miniature ones, which I would say are more common in America that we know. However, they love these things and they do it big. Um, they have incredibly intricate nativity scenes that are just, I mean, massive. And um, it's interesting because apparently, they do the normal nativity scene, but they branch out from it, and they normally have like whole, like small village square scenes set up with tons of different characters. It's actually really common to add not only like Christmas stuff, but like tons of different people, and even they make little figures of like celebrities and stuff to add to it. But I'll have to pull up this picture so y'all can see. They really go pretty all out on this here.
Celebrities. So you're saying I could have a nativity with
Yeah,
Sharon?
you could indeed.
I like
It
it.
is.
Yeah. But yeah, if you click that link and scroll down a little bit, there's a picture of somebody that has made a very, very, very intricate one. It's cool. They add like tons of other things, and it reminds me a lot of like the small, like the German train town, like in World Showcase, but even more intricate and more detailed than that. And there's a lot of shops around Naples that specialize in making and selling these small miniatures. It's pretty cool. Naples itself, too, is home to the largest nativity scene in the world, and it has over 600 objects in it, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Wow.
I want to see that. I love that little German train town, so this sounds right up my alley.
hmm Similarly to America, it's common for children to go out and sing carols, but they also play what they call shepherd's pipe, which is an instrument typically when they go around and play or sing the carols, which I think is pretty cool too. And then one of the more common traditions, which if you know anybody that is Italian, is that it's normally uncommon to eat meat or dairy on Christmas Eve. So when you get together to have your dinner, um, it's very common to have fish. So what you'll typically do is go to a midnight mass service and then eat the dinner, the fish dinner, when you get back from mass. And it depends on your family or the region that you come from, but typically you eat a certain number of fish to represent a different thing to have to do with the nativity story or with the Bible. The most common one is to 7 fishes, and these are typically cod, but they also kind of branch out. It's really more like 7 different types of seafood. So it says cod, clams, calamari, sardines, and eel are some of the more popular ones that you eat there.
I'm having obviously I'm Italian, and my dad's family is super into, used to be super big into the Italian culture, and the 7 fishes is not fun.
Really?
No, there's a lot of fish, and as someone that's not really big into seafood, like calamari is good. used to always be like some kind of shrimp, which like between those two I could survive. Everything beyond that is just lost on me.
Yeah, this was something I didn't really know about, but one of Jordan's good friends is Italian, and she was telling us about this. And yeah, I don't know, like I like seafood a lot, so I might actually kind of like this. But
I think it depends because the weird thing about it is like we were talking about this with my mom because she wants to do it this year, but there's different ways to do the 7 fishes. Like as weird as that sounds, like it seems just from its name that it's these set things, but you could really kind of do a bunch of different variations on it. And I think it might not be bad just depending on what you have. I just always remember that there was like it smelled really bad because seafood usually does. And there was stuff on there that I just refused to eat. I was also significantly younger when we used to go over there for that, so that may have had some impact on my memory of it.
I get like fish is normally a give or take kind of thing with people, and as much as I like it, I don't. Yeah, maybe having 7 of them would be a little too much on one
Yeah.
night. But like I said earlier, generally how many fish you serve depends on a different tradition. So 7 is the most common, which represents the 7 days of creation in the Bible, or the 7 holy sacraments of the Catholic Church. But some people branch out from that. Some do 9, which represents the Christian Trinity 3 times. Some do 11, which would be the 11 disciples without Jesus and Judas, or 13 to represent the 12 disciples and Jesus. So,
Good God. 13?
So 7's the minimum. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I know 13 different kinds of fish.
Oh, I'm sure.
Also, I
you
feel
could-
like the 9 thing being the Trinity 3 times, that's a little like of a stretch.
it's
Of
excessive.
like, it's like how can we make 9 a number? Let's do the Trinity 3 times.
Let's do 33 fish.
Oh dear, that's like my worst nightmare.
And then the other thing that is, I found it was pretty interesting because this was somewhat similar to the Mexican tradition, is that typically in Italy you don't do presents on Christmas either. You do them on January 5th, which is what is known as Epiphany Night. So the legend goes that old lady named Befana brings presents for the children. So yeah, but they also do kind of the typical things that have kind of crossed over into Americanized Christmas traditions, where they put stockings up by the fireplace. But again, it's Befana that is filling them instead of Santa Claus. Yeah. They do still celebrate, or they have the Santa Claus tradition too, but that's generally for smaller gifts, whereas the Befana gifts are like the normal, bigger, larger gifts like we would typically expect during Christmas.
Neat.
Cool. Well, that's where we had this week's episode broken down. So did anybody have any? Are there any of these that you guys celebrate or have celebrated? Like I know Beth said that she's had some experience with some of the German stuff, and I've also said that I have some experience with like the 7 fishes. But like, is there anything that you guys in your families celebrate or feel like is a variation of something we may have talked about?
No. Besides tamales.
Oh, okay.
Is okay, first of all, am I saying is it pronounced poinsettia or poinsettia? The flower.
Poinsettia.
I've heard
Okay,
poinsettia, so
that's what I always thought, and I don't know, maybe it's just like the Spanish translation, but because in this article I was reading, it was spelled poinsettia, and like there's
I
an
mean, that
IA
is how
at the
you
end.
spell it.
Oh, did
it's
you?
one of
Okay,
those
so I'm
weird
just,
things. Yeah.
oh, I'm just pronouncing it wrong. Okay.
I mean, I've heard people say both. I feel like it's both are accepted at this point, but I think
Yeah.
the proper pronunciation is poinsettia.
Okay.
I could be
well,
wrong.
I would say that like it's pretty common, I think, for people in America to buy those flowers too. Like there's that's normally people have those out on display, like in my family, like Jordan's family and stuff around the holidays. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But just as a FYI to anybody out there listening that may not know this, poinsettias are extremely toxic to dogs and cats.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's a good
please
point,
keep
too.
them away from your pets. Also, lilies. I don't know if that's a super Christmas thing, but that's another one that's like super dangerous for animals.
Yeah. I don't
Just
think that's
if you get flowers, just give a quick Google and see if you need to keep it on your porch or it's okay to keep in your house. It's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. So obviously not Disney related, but do you guys have any fun Christmas traditions that you guys do with your families?
We don't eat normal like turkey. We have fondue, like where you cook meat
Ooh.
fondue, not like cheese fondue.
Wow.
That's interesting.
I mean that's interesting.
Yeah, that's fun.
I don't really know how it started, but we've always done that.
Do y'all
Um,
do any kind of like gift giving game, like White Elephant or Dirty Santa or anything like that?
Usually at my mom's side of the family, Christmas, we do some sort of white elephant, but we usually incorporate a game into it. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the like Mr. Right and Mrs. Right game.
Mm-mm.
It's basically someone reads a story and it's about this couple named Mr. Right and Mrs. Right. And every time someone, like the person reading, says right, you pass the gift to the right. And every time they say left, you pass it to the left. So it's like Mr. Right left to go to the store right before he left. And you're just like passing the gift back and forth and back and forth. And then at the end of the story, you open whatever gift you're holding, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that's neat. We do like White Elephant's like a friend tradition for us, not so much a family thing. We've done it with my family a couple times, but that's like our friend group holiday tradition. So it's kind of a little weird to not be doing that this year.
Yeah, it's gotten kind of like too intense with my family over the years, so we kind of moved away from that. Like all the couples like start planning stuff out about like how many steals they get and where they're at in line so that you can steal it for your significant other and they'll swap you their pick because of that. And it's like, and then we get every year it's like we argue about the rules, how many swaps we get. Okay, on the third steal, is it dead or is it or do you get 3 steals? It's just like at a certain point, I think we just said, you know what, this has gotten too crazy.
Dang. You guys have to start doing gag gifts so that way it doesn't get super competitive. It's like
Well, see,
whatever you
that
get
I
is
That's
think
what it
fine.
always starts out as, I feel like.
that's what I think has made it worse because at certain point people were doing like serious gifts and then some people were doing gag gifts, so that just made it even crazier. So
Oh wow.
Dang.
We just have a small family because we don't have enough people to do that. I don't know. We get presents for everybody.
Oh, we definitely don't do that at this point. I feel like when I was younger, we used to. And my parents got divorced when I was 7 or 8. So I've had 2 things every year for most of my life, which I'm very thankful now is kind of come to a halt. And I only really have to do like the main Christmas things now. Cause it used to be like, I'd go over to my dad's whole side of the family, which he's one of 6 siblings. So it was like a ton of people. And then my mom, she's one of 3 siblings, but my aunt lives in Germany still. That's where she was born and where she's from. So it's really only her and her brother that live in the United States. But then they have multiple kids and their kids have kids and whatever. So it was like big dad's family, big mom's family Christmas. And then on Christmas Day, half the day at dad's, half the day at mom's. It's exhausting to be a
Yeah.
child of divorced parents growing up.
I feel like Christmas is already an exhausting enough holiday as it is.
Yeah.
Like that's rough.
Yeah. But now, thanks to coronavirus, I only have to do like the main ones.
Hmm.
But not even the main ones because I'm only doing my dad's on Christmas Day this year. But anyway, It's kind of a relief in a way.
We don't have anything too crazy. The big one that my parents always did growing up was like open one gift on Christmas Eve. But other than that, like we used to do 7 fishes at my dad's aunt's, but obviously not going to be getting together with a whole family anytime soon.
Mhm.
Yeah, we opened 1 or 2 on
yeah.
Christmas Eve too. Because growing up, my dad, when he was a kid, he opened all of his presents on Christmas Eve, and my mom opened all of hers on Christmas. So we opened like 1 or 2 on Christmas Eve as like a compromise.
It's a nice compromise, especially for the kids. You know, you get an extra present a day early out of the deal.
Mm-hmm. But my mom always picks out like what we can open, and it's usually like pajamas or something.
It's usually the crap gift, right? Because that's how it kind of was here too. It was not like that sounds horrible, but like as the kid, it was always like you would open the present and be like, it was not the exciting gift.
Yeah.
It was
Santa
the
always
necessity gift.
what'd you say? I said Santa always brought our exciting gift, and Santa doesn't wrap.
Yeah.
Santa just leaves it out.
Oh.
He's
Santa
very
wrap gifts
busy.
here.
I think he's very lazy.
Wow. Favoritism. We actually did one year at my mom's house. We did German Christmas, which we opened all of our presents on Christmas Eve. I think my stepdad was overseas or something, and the timing lined up better for us to do it at nighttime or something. So that was kind of fun. That one year.
One year you got a day early.
Yeah, one year I only had to go to my mom's house on Christmas Eve, and then I only had to go to my dad's house on Christmas Day. So I got to split it up. Not instead of having to do both on Christmas Day. So that was kind of nice. But as an adult, it hasn't really been as much of an issue.
Then that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of the Station 71 podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you want to be a part of the show, reach out to us on our website at www.station71podcast.com, where you can find links to all of our social media, our email address, and our brand new Google Voice line where you can leave us a voice message. Have anything you want to hear us talk about, we'd be happy to discuss that on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed your ride, and we'll see you real soon.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.